rotate those forearms so you get the club face feeling like it's almost squared up at this point here. You've only got 0.1 of a second between here and impact, so you'd better be turning the club face down, especially if your ball already slices, and then you can get that lovely draw that we all know and love. And that was one. Very nice. Hi, Jeremy here with another shot from the golfing curriculum. Today we're looking at the slice. So if you're a right-hander and your ball curves to the right, then this video is for you. Now, if your ball curves to the right, it can mean only one thing, and that is that your club face is a little bit open as you strike the ball. And the two things that govern that are the grip, which we'll cover a bit later, and the hand action during the swing and the club face positions that you need to get into. So, if we're going to return the club square, then there is an optimal way to take the club away, and that is checkable at this 9 o'clock spot. You can see here the club is horizontal, it's also parallel, but the bit I want you to really notice is the position of that club face. It is tilted, and it's in fact tilted on the same angle as my spine. So this is our first thing that we need to get right, and actually also as we come back down again, we want to try and get the club into that spot as well. What that will do is make it easy for us to square the club face up. If the club comes through this tilted spot here, and you can see if I turn my chest to the ball and bring my arms with me, I really don't need to do a whole lot, and the club is beautifully square here. So this is the first spot really where people go wrong. Then one of the first things that goes wrong is for people to roll the club face open. Can you see here how the club is tilted back on itself? And now I've got a real problem. The club face is miles open. My wrist is starting to flex in this way. Yeah. You can see how difficult it is for me to square the club face. If I turn my chest and bring my arms with you, see how the club face is still miles open there, and I've got an awful lot to do, and it'll involve rolling the club face from really open to really closed really quickly, and that's not a good way to play, and very often you won't manage to do that, and so obviously then the ball will go off to the right. So our first port of call is to get on the clock, as I call it, with the club face in this slightly tilted position, and then as we go up to the top, you can see there my left wrist is fairly flat. That's a really good indicator that the club face is going to be at sort of 45 degrees at this point. What we do not want at this point is the left wrist cupped in this fashion. That's very, very open, and you can see also, I would imagine, the club face hanging down pretty much vertically. So this is open, this is closed. So if you're slicing the ball, then I'd go for a slightly more closed position with a flatter left wrist here, and definitely watch out for this checkpoint here where the club face is tilted. If it's vertical, you could kind of just about get away with that, but if it's tilted back on itself, or if the club's round here, then that gives you an awful lot to do in the downswing. One really great image is the waiter's tray with the right palm facing upwards. That gets us into a pretty square position here, and the next spot is 9 o'clock on the downswing. What we want is the club coming back on this line. You see now how the club face is tilted down. I've got no problem squaring it up there. And like a top spinner in tennis, the club case can rotate over. That's a great feeling for you to have. If you're used to slicing, then have the feeling of the club face closing over. You can see there, club face is actually swinging out to the right, which will produce a draw, completely opposite of your slice, and the club face rolled over like a tennis top spinner. There will be a lot of forearm rotation compared to what you normally do, and you'll want the feeling of this left wrist and forearm rotating over. You can see how my palm faces up more now. Slices do kind of the opposite. They would be not rotating the forearm at all and blocking and swinging probably to the left. That will create that spin. So I mentioned earlier the grip will play a part in this as well, and obviously if you change the club position in your hands, then of course it will appear differently during the swing. So what we need to make sure of is that we have enough knuckles showing. On the left hand here, I want to see 1, 2 and a little bit of the third knuckle, certainly the third knuckle if you slice the ball, and the V pointing up to my right shoulder. I've got another video on the grip with the top hand and another one with the bottom hand as well, so have a look at those. They'll be in the full swing playlist. And the other V matches it. The right hand points again up to my right shoulder. So we've got the 2 V's pointing at the right shoulder in this fashion, and the club face squared up to match. If you're a left-hander, it's the same, but just the opposite hand. The top hand is the right hand, the V to the left shoulder, and the V on the bottom hand, the left hand, also points up to the left shoulder when the club face is square. This is where your hand wants to be as you strike the ball. This will give you a square club face. Yeah, don't get it wrong. Do not get the V's pointing up to the chin. Your hands want to be like this when you strike the ball. V's to the chin means an open club face all day long. And it will also exacerbate it because with the V's pointing to the chin, shoulder line tends to be open as well. So there's a knock-on effect to having a really bad grip. So just to recap, square here is with the club face slightly tilted up to the top. Lead wrist fairly flat. Trail wrist feels like it points a bit more to the sky. That'll give you sort of 45-degree angle club face. And as you come back down again, the arms have to come down, rotating. Rotate those forearms so you get the club face feeling like it's almost squared up at this point here. You've only got 0.1 of a second between here and impact, so you'd better be turning the club face down, especially if your ball already slices, and then you can get that lovely draw that we all know and love. And that was one. Very nice. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful and you'd like some further information, there is a free download on how to hit a driver on my website. There's a link in the description. Please download it. Comments welcome. Let me know how you go, and look forward to seeing you next time for another shot on the golfing curriculum.